Okay, we're good, we're good, we're good, we're good, we're good. You can roll it. Good morning. Welcome to today's morning market call. My name is Ian Joseph, lead market analyst at HFM. A quick disclaimer before we do begin. The information herein is only meant for educational and informative purposes only. None of it should be construed as investment advice. Trading the financial markets do carry a degree of risk to it, but do not worry, I'm here to help you navigate the markets, okay? Oh, my camera is not cameraing. Okay, once again, welcome, welcome, welcome. Today is a very interesting day. Now, starting off with the promotions that we are currently ongoing. Remember, the first five is has 10 days to go. We do have less than 10 days, 13 hours for the sprint to win marathon, whereby it's not only a marathon, it is a sprint, whereby speed is going to be everything. The first one to trade will be the first one to win. Now, the only way to join is very simple. Go over to your HF promotions, the first find, and join the promotion. Trade 150 lot size in either Forex, gold, or silver. If you are among the first traders to complete the trading requirement by 19th of September this month, you have a chance to win 65,000 Kenyan shillings cash. Not only that, we do have another promotion, which is the Battle of the Elite. Now, this one is very interesting, whereby you can become Kenya's Don Wabiz. You can claim the crown, win 650,000 Kenyan shillings. Now, it's going to be 1 month, whereby number one is going to take home 650,000 Kenyan shillings, which is equivalent to 5,000 United States dollars. Number two is going to walk home with $2,000. Number three is going to walk home with $1,000. Then we are going to have 10 lucky winners in the lucky draw, whereby you're going to take home each $200. Once again, very simple to get enrolled. Go over to your HF Promotions Battle of the Elite. Deposit at least $100. Trade any asset and rank among the top three traders by percentage wise. Now, we do have a leaderboard currently at the moment. Lawrence is up 186.41%, but there is still room for growth, whereby Smart Entry KE has only 22.74%. Quite interesting. Now, we have just launched another one yesterday, and this one is quite interesting, whereby you have a chance to walk home with real gold, 10 grams of gold, whereby it's going to run from 8th of September, which was yesterday, just launched yesterday, till 8th of October. We do have 29 days and counting. Now, you have a chance once again to drive home with 10 grams of pure gold. We are going to have unlimited winners, whereby set your target, hit it, and win it. How to join? Once again, very simple. Go over to HF Promotions Pure Gold Giveaway. Trade 100 standard lots in gold using any account type. Hit the target and win 10 grams of gold. Those and many more promotions that we are currently offering. If you refer a friend, also you can be eligible for a rebate in the markets. Now, that aside, let's go over to what's happening currently at the moment. And you know where we usually begin. It's going to start with the economic calendar as usual. Now, today is going to be Tuesday, September the 9th. Very interesting. And we do anticipate a few news releases to come out, and the highlight of the day is going to be the non-farm payrolls benchmark revision. Now, this is quite interesting because they use Bureau of Labor Statistics, or the BLS, announces the preliminary estimate of the annual benchmark revision to the Establishment Survey Employment Series. Now, this is very interesting because when you look at non-farm payroll data, there is usually a previous number, a consensus, then the actual number. When the NFP is usually released, let's look at example let's look at August's number. August's number was very interesting, which was the first Friday. of August, whereby we did see quite an interesting revision in the markets, going down to non-farm payroll. Here, you can see the numbers were revised from 147,000 jobs down to 13,000 jobs. Now, this is very impactful because there's a way that the BLS usually comes up with these numbers, and sometimes they are usually revised. It is said that we might anticipate almost 1 million job revisions currently in the market. Very sharp, and this could be very interesting because when the data was released, let's say for example the data that is supposed to come out today, the level of US employment for the last 12 months through March could be slashed by as many as 1 million jobs when the government publishes its preliminary non-farm payrolls benchmark estimate on Tuesday. Now the revision will come on the heels of last Friday's news release that job growth almost did stall in the financial markets, and the economy shed jobs in June for the first time in 4.5 years. It will suggest that the labor market was already struggling way before Donald Trump did enact the aggressive tariffs on imports. An immigration crackdown by the White House has undercut labor supply, while a shift by businesses to AI and automation is curbing demand for workers. This is quite interesting because we are going to look at the job numbers revision today for the past 1 year, and statistic has it that 1 million jobs could be revised. These are 1 million jobs that we thought were created in the markets, but currently at the moment they don't seem to exist. Now this is going to have a very big impact, especially looking at where we are headed to. For the past 2 NFP numbers, we have received data below 100,000 jobs. This is the first time, once again, in 4.5 years that we have received numbers of this magnitude, and the markets could be looking at this data, especially the Fed Reserve. What could this have as an impact by the time it reaches 17th of this month, whereby we do anticipate the Fed Reserve to cut interest rates? We don't know by how much, but there's a high likelihood that we are going to see interest rate cuts in the near future. Now, tomorrow we are due to receive our PPI numbers, which is Producer Price Index. Then on Thursday, we are going to receive CPI numbers, which is Consumer Price Index. Basically, these two releases are a measure of inflation, whereby if we see inflation cooling down drastically, it means that we might see aggressive interest rate cuts, whereby the central banks would want to stimulate the economy by encouraging borrowing aggressively. Now, moving over to France, whereby Francois Bayrou was ousted as the French Prime Minister after losing confidence vote yesterday, whereby the government collapsed after Emmanuel Macron's ally wins support of just 194 MPs against 364. Now, the government has been officially dissolved, and tomorrow morning he will hand his resignation letter to Emmanuel Macron, his long-term centralist ally, on Tuesday morning. Now, the French president now faces the challenge of appointing his third prime minister in only 1 year, and the fifth since he began his second term of office in 2022. His office said he will make the decision in the coming days. Bayrou was toppled by 364 deputies voted that they had no confidence in the government. Just 194 did give him their confidence. Bayrou had called the vote himself as a last-ditch gamble for support, saying he needed backing from parliament for austerity measures to reduce the public debt. Now, this is quite interesting because when you look at the euro, France accounts for almost 22% of the GDP of the euro. And during last week's meeting with the European Central Bank, whereby President Lagarde showed interest and concern about what is going to happen to France, because when you look at the ECB basically are the biggest people who purchase France government's bond, the government issued bonds. Now, this is going to be interesting because looking at what happened yesterday, over the weekend, actually, to be precise, where Japan's Prime Minister Ishiba did also resign as Prime Minister, and we did see the Japanese yen showing weakness during market open yesterday. Now, the markets are fractal in the sense that they usually repeat themselves. When you look at the biggest participants in the Forex market, at the top of the helm is usually the central banks. So whatever is going to happen politically to any economy in the world is going to affect the currency in terms of how investors are going to be looking at this data. Now, this is once again very critical If you look at Japan's prime minister, he did resign just after concluding the trade deal with the United States of America, and he did step down as a result of the pressure whereby people felt like the cost of living in Japan was higher, and he also lost confidence vote in parliament. Could we see a similar thing happening to France in the near future, whereby they are going to dissolve the government, new people are going to come in? Whenever that happens, investors are going to take a cautious stance into how they are going to be positioned in the market. In terms of institutions, investors want to look at what these lawmakers, what the policymakers have in store in the near future. If it's going to be positive, we are going to see much more strength in the euro. By the euro, we are talking about the 22% of France that has a stake on the GDP. Now, moving over to Russia. Russia did hit Ukraine with the biggest air attack of war, sets government building ablaze. And this was quite interesting, whereby the Ukraine's government building attacked for the first time in war, as Russia did launch drones, missiles on Ukraine, as Zelensky did appeal for stronger air defenses. Now, Trump did mention he's ready for more sanctions against Russia. On September the 7th, Russia launched its largest air attack on the war on Ukraine overnight, setting the main government building on fire. This was quite an attack. This was quite a statement from Russia on Kiev, whereby they did kill at least 4 people, including an infant. Ukrainian officials did say on Sunday. Now, President Zelensky said the drone and missile barrage killed 4 people and caused damage across the north, south, and eastern side of the country, including cities of Zaporizhia, Kiev, and Odessa, as well as in the Sumy and Chernihiv regions. Quite interesting. Looking at the building could be seen on fire. And the thing that we would want to focus on is US President Donald J. Trump did mention on Saturday he's ready to move to a second phase of sanctions against Russia. The closest he has come to suggesting he's on the verge of ramping up sanctions against Moscow or its oil buyers. Now, when we talk about oil buyers from Russia, who are these people? Technically, it's China. Now, if there are going to be sanctions, it's going to affect supply and demand on oil, and we are going to look at the data in just a moment, whereby he did not elaborate, but up until now, Trump, who did meet Putin last month, which was quite the engagement over the airbase in Alaska, whereby we did see quite an air show of the B-2 bombers. Now, could this be a point in time whereby it could be tipping against Russia, whereby if they're going to impose more sanctions on Russia, and Russia do have a lot of resources, and these are resources, they sell it to people like China. Now, currently at the moment, they are selling oil. They are not converting the oil into dollars. And the United States of America was very concerned because right now, at the moment, the dollar is the reserve currency, technically, of the world, whereby if you want to purchase oil from any side of the world, you have to convert your currency first into dollars and then purchase oil. But where we are headed to in the near future, could this be a very important turning point for the precious commodity, which is oil? Now, when you look at oil, oil is very important because it's tied to essentially inflation. Everything has its ties to oil. If oil prices do go up, there's a high likelihood it's going to create a ripple effect in the economy whereby everything is going to be affected. Now, that's going to be it for the data that we are anticipating. Later on in the day, we do anticipate the API weekly crude oil stock. Now, if you're trading oil, this is a very good data to be looking at. But the highlight of the week is going to be CPI and PPI, starting with PPI tomorrow, then CPI on Thursday. Quite interesting to see how inflation numbers in the United States of America are going to fare on. Now, currently, at the moment, looking at the stock heat map on the S&P 500, AFCO is up 3.21%, Nvidia is up 0.77%, Apple is down, Microsoft is up. Most of the equities in the S&P 500 are holding on nicely, anticipating that the interest rate cuts are going to boost their profits, whereby if we are going to see interest rate cuts in the near future, this means that loans are going to be cheaper for these companies and they're going to pay their debts at a cheaper price. So we do anticipate equities to continue moving further to the upper side. We will now switch gears to the charts. Okay, starting off with the precious metal, gold. Now we have just started a segment, and I would want you to be engaging with me, because as you can look at my watch list, I do have a lot of pairs that I currently look at, but I am not able to look at each and every one of these pairs. If you have any inquiries of you, if you do have any assets that you would want me to look at, currently kindly put it in the chat box. I'll be glad to be of help. Now, looking at gold, gold did make an all-time high today during Asian session, which was around during the close of Asian session towards pre-London at 8 a.m. exactly in the morning, whereby gold tapped the 3,650 region. Quite interesting. We have never been in these territories quite before in the markets. Essentially, these are uncharted territories. We have never tapped into this region that we are seeing currently at the moment. Now, we are having a short-term retracement. We'll want to look at how gold is going to fare on, especially with the news release that is going to come out later today with the revisions of the NFP. And then the highlight of the week, once again, is going to be the inflation numbers, which are due to come out tomorrow. Now, could we see more long opportunities, especially looking at the commitment of traders, where we did see almost $2.7 billion being added to gold market in just the previous week? Quite interesting to know how institutions are positioning themselves, looking at the charts currently at the moment, whereby gold is to the upper side. Speculations are gold to the moon, but where is the moon? Only one way to find out. Looking at silver metal has been consolidating ever since Asian Open today. We'll want to see also how the data is going to affect. Currently, at the moment, the markets will be waiting for the next trigger, and the next trigger, once again, could be the data that will be released as time goes on, whereby we will want to anticipate and see how institutions are going to position themselves. Now, this provides us traders with a lot of probabilities in the markets. But remember, once again, risk management is going to be a very crucial aspect of your trading to ensure that you are going to stay in the game for longer. Looking at the dollar index currently at the moment, we're having a short-term retracement to the upper side, whereby the markets are currently trading above the new day opening gap. But looking at the dollar index overall in the long-term perspective, the dollar index has been trending to the downside ever since highs that was made on 1st of August. Now, this was last month's NFP's data, and ever since, the market has been making lower lows, lower highs. We just did break the most recent lower low. Could the market move further down to form a new lower low? Currently, at the moment, retracing to form a possible new higher low for a further continuation to the downside, possibly taking out the most recent lows at 97.265. Now, looking at the volatility index has been spiking up and down of recent times, showing us that there could be a lot of volatility anticipated in the markets in the near future. And we'll want to look at, could there be possible spikes in the volatility index in the near future? Only one way to find out. Currently, at the moment, we are trading at 15.14%, meaning the markets could move 15% in either direction in the near future. Looking at equities, starting with the S&P 500, we did have this sharp retracement to the downside. This was the result of the NFP numbers, but currently the markets are correcting itself. We are trading above the golden retracement zone on the Fibonacci level. And once again, the markets are digesting the interest rate cuts positively, especially for the equities, whereby we do anticipate prices to continue moving further to the upside. We did form another all-time high. This was back on Friday, and we will want to look at how the markets are going to react if at all we come back to the region of 6,500 on the S&P 500. If we do break to the upside, this means there's a high probability prices will continue moving further to the upper side. But currently at the moment, the region that we'll want to focus on is the 6,500 region currently at the moment. Now, S&P 500, the US 30, the Russell are positively correlated in the terms that, yes, they are all equities and they do move in a similar manner. And once again, the markets will wait for the incoming data. As you can see on Friday, the markets usually enter into a period of consolidation before the news is released, whereby institutions want to position themselves after the data has been released. Looking at the FTSE, which is the UK 100, we are consolidating currently at the moment, and this could be as a result of what is happening to France. Remember, the British pound and the euro are positively correlated. Whatever happens in one country, there's a high likelihood it's going to affect the entire eurozone. Currently, at the moment, if they have dissolved the government currently and investors are going to react to this data, whereby as a result of President Lagarde's speech, and we are due to have their speech later on this week. I do believe it's going to be on Thursday this week. So Thursday is going to be very, very active in the markets. Let's just look at the data, whereby we are due to release the ECB central bank rates, which is going to be at 3:15 on Thursday. We do anticipate the central bank to maintain the interest rates between 2.15 and the previous number was 2.15, and we do anticipate the consensus to be at 215 basis points. But once again, we will want to look at the policy statement. What is the speech, especially coming from France's surprise confidence vote, whereby we did see the current prime minister being ousted out by the majority of parliament. We'll want to look at how the euro is going to fare on in the near future. Now, going back to the charts, once again, if I can just switch to euro USD. Currently, at the moment, we are seeing a weakness for the past 2 hours ever since pre-London. Actually, this was London. This was Frankfurt Open, whereby at exactly 9 a.m. Nairobi time, we did see the markets rally to the downside. We are currently trading below the opening price of today's price, which was 1.17609, and we'll want to see if this trend will continue further to the downside. Once again, if everything that's happened in the eurozone is going to persist, investors are going to offload a lot of their positions on the euro, meaning the euro against the USD is going to be weaker, and potentially we might see prices coming back down to these regions of liquidity that we do have residing at 1.16300 in the near future. Now, going back to oil, starting off with Brent oil. Ever since yesterday, market open, the markets did gap to the upper side on Brent oil, currently trading above $65 a barrel as the markets digested the data from Russia region positively or negatively, if you look at it in terms of demand, whereby if there are going to be more sanctions against Russia, it means that the prices of oil will continue moving further to the upper side. Now, the escalation could be very critical because once again, looking at Russia, they're selling oil to China, they're selling oil to India, and they're not converting it into dollars, which could be a very important factor looking at how the markets right now are digesting the de-dollarization of the United States, whereby people would want to purchase goods and services and not convert it into the United States dollar, especially looking at crude oil, whereby we did have the markets push to the upper side, came back down, retested on the new week opening gap. Now prices are painting to the upper side. Could we see a further potential move to the upper side on oil prices, potentially coming back to $60 a barrel, which is a quite interesting psychological level, whereby oil prices, for it to be profitable mined, for new oil wells to be dug, prices of oil has to be trading above $60 a barrel. But for oil to be sold profitably to the market, it has to be trading above $35 a barrel. Now, once again, oil is very critical to an economy because everything, almost everything on earth is tied to the black gold. If prices of oil move to the upper side, there's a high probability everything will move to the upper side. Especially looking at price action, we did come back down to this region of support that was forming around 64, and we had been looking at this region for quite some time, especially towards the end of last month, whereby we did see quite the amount of consolidation. The markets did break to the upper side, came back down, retested. Could we see further opportunities to the upper side, possibly breaking the most recent highs that was formed after NFP? This was 2nd of September, just before NFP, during the week of NFP. Quite interesting to note. Now, Brent and WTI are positively correlated in terms of how they move closely with one another. Looking at WTI, similar instance could be seen, whereby we could anticipate more buying opportunities to the upper side. Now, are there any other assets that you would want me to look at? Shiko, do you have any questions? Thank you, Quentin, for being the first one to join. Hello, Nderetu. XAUSD, I do believe I've gone through XAUSD, but once again, if I can just go over it once more, we have seen commitment of traders. If you can go to the CFTC report, we did see institutions buying into gold quite aggressively last week, up to last week. whereby if you do the mathematics, that was almost $2.7 billion being bought into the markets just on gold. $2.7 billion. That's quite the amount of money when you're looking at these numbers. So looking at gold, here it is. So 20,633 positions. If you do the mathematics, over 2.7 billion. So Euro USD, I think I've talked about it. Euro dollar is going to be dependent on what we are anticipating this week, especially once again, looking at where France has come from, whereby the Prime Minister has just been ousted, Francois Bayrou, and we do anticipate the ECB to release their interest rates later on this week. And then the highlight is going to be on the conference, whereby we will want to listen to President Lagarde. What are your thoughts with CPI pending? Will it make new highs? So with the news releases, that's a very good question, Ian Muller, that's a very good question. Now with the news releases, no one knows what's going to happen next. The only thing you can do as a trader is be prepared. React to what is going to come out. If data comes out positive, react to it. If data comes out negative, react to it. But no one knows what's going to happen in the markets. Hello, Hilary. Hello, SK. I think that's going to be it. Lemayan. Hello. So someone is asking how to register for the competitions. Once again, we do have quite the amount of competitions happening. If you just go to trading, if you go to promotions, when you go to your HF portal under promotions here, this tab is going to open up. Then we have all the promotions. Remember, once again, we have just released the pure gold giveaway, whereby join the pure gold giveaway where any trader can win 10 grams of the tangible metal. 10 grams. It's a lot of money. No limits and no competition. Trade 100 lots and win gold. Ends in 8th of October 2025. So you just go to read more, and how you go about it is scroll down. This is the steps. So go over to your HF promotions, pure gold giveaway, and join the promotion. So if you come here, register now, or you're going to be automatically linked to the promotions. Trade 100 standard lots in gold using any account type, hit the target and win 10 grams of tangible real gold. That's going to be it for me. If there are no more questions, I shall see you in. Okay, reminder. Now, Tanzania. The Tanzania clinic is on. Catch us at the Tanzania Park 7th floor from 2 p.m. to 4:30. Swahili classes. Mujifunze people na Kiswahili. I shall see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Once again, risk management is going to be very crucial, okay? Adios.